Good morning everyone and welcome to our November Council meeting, and a special welcome to our gallery members. It's a bit unusual for us to have people in our gallery. I'll invite you to stand for the opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask that you be present at this meeting to assist us in our service to the community through local government. We pray that our decisions will be wise and taken with goodwill and clear conscience. Amen. For the sake of the gallery, my name is Juliana Phelps. I'm the CEO of Towong Shire Council. It's a little unusual for the CEO to chair the meeting, but as we've recently had the local government elections in October and the swearing in of our councillors recently, we today will be appointing our mayor, and until that time it's my role to chair the meeting. Councillors, at item 2, this is in relation to the swearing in of councillors. Under the Local Government Act, section 30, it states that a person elected to be a councillor is not capable of acting as a councillor until the person has taken the oath of or affirmation of office in the manner prescribed in the regulations. The oath or affirmation of office must be administered by the CEO and dated and signed before the CEO and recorded in the minutes of the council whether or not the oath or affirmation was taken at a council meeting. Councillors, we've actually circulated a slightly updated report because there were a couple of typos that we had identified in the report. But I guess I wish to confirm that we have adhered to the Local Government Act requirements and that all councillors have been sworn in and are able to act as councillors. Item 3 on the agenda is councillor and officer presence at the meeting. Just acknowledging that we have all 5 councillors present, myself, Jamie Heritage, our Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Mark Florence, our Director of Community and Planning, and Narelle Taylor, our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development. We have no apologies today. Are there any requests for leave of absence? All right, now move to item 5, disclosure of conflicts of interest. Are there any disclosures?
I have a conflict. I've been very slack and haven't seen the item is Mount Elliott Master Plan, which is 19.1, material conflict, as the report speaks about the purchase of land on Fisher's Track to allow for access, and I actually own that land.
Thank you, Councillor Whitehead. Any further disclosures? No, thank you. Move to item 6, which is the election of the mayor. So the section 25 of the Local Government Act sets out the requirements in relation to the election of the mayor, and that information is provided in front of you. The first thing we need to do is determine the term of office of mayor, and section 26 requires that before the election of the mayor, the council determine by resolution whether the mayor is elected for 1 year or a term of 2 years. So I'll call for a motion from councillors in that regard.
I'll move a motion that the term of mayor be for 1 year.
Is there a seconder?
Well, hand up.
I'll say Councillor Wortman, seconder. Do you wish to speak to that motion?
I just briefly that I think it's a 1 year term will allow for us to settle into the new 4-year council and give the opportunity for others into the future as well.
Councillor Whitehead. Councillor Wortman, do you wish to speak? Is there anyone in opposition to the motion? No. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Right, item 6.3, the election of the mayor. So the role of the mayor is defined in section 18 of the Local Government Act, and It states the role of the Mayor is to chair council meetings and be the principal spokesperson for the council and lead engagement with the municipal community on the development of the council plan and report to the municipal community at least once each year on the implementation of the council plan and promote behaviour among councillors that meets the standards of conduct set out in the Councillor Code of Conduct, and assist councillors to understand their role and take a leadership role in ensuring the regular review of the performance of the Chief Executive Officer, and provide advice to the Chief Executive Officer when the Chief Executive Officer is setting the agenda for council meetings, and perform civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of the council. And the Mayor is not eligible to be elected to the office of Deputy Mayor. The specific powers of the Mayor are also set out. The Mayor has the following specific powers: to appoint a councillor to be the chair of a delegated committee, to direct a councillor subject to any procedures or limitations specified in the governance rules, to leave a council meeting if the behaviour of the councillor is preventing the council from conducting its business, to require the Chief Executive Officer to report to the council on the implementation of a council decision. And there's also some specific provisions there in relation to delegated committees. Now I would invite councillors to make a nomination for a councillor to be our Mayor for the next 12 months, or 1 year. Do I have any nominations? Councillor Wortman?
Thank you, Madam CEO. I'd like to nominate Councillor Whitehead for the office of Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wortman. Is there a seconder?
Go for it.
Councillor Anderson, thank you. Councillor Whitehead, do you accept that nomination?
I accept the nomination.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? If there being no further nominations, I am very pleased to declare duly elected Councillor Whitehead and invite you to assume the chair. And our normal process or procedure would be that the outgoing Mayor is invited to speak and the incoming Mayor is invited to speak, but you might like to do that.
I'll just combine the two.
Sounds like a good idea. Thank you.
That comes round with me. Thank you. So, as outgoing and incoming Mayor, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank my fellow councillors for this opportunity. I think it's exciting. We have Councillor Pittman as a new councillor and Councillor Dick Shea returning, and two existing councillors. So I think we've got a very good group. Oh. Sorry, I have been in the wrong and I've been used to saying Councillor Dick Shea for too long. Councillor Tolsha. I was wondering what the chuckling was about. I hadn't even picked up on it myself. I do apologise, Councillor Tolsha. Accepted. Okay, very good. And the staff, I think we're in a really great place at the moment. Our CEO's been long-term CEO and very capable and very good at what she does, and our other directors, we now have all those positions filled, and it's very exciting times, and I'm sure the CEO feels a weight off her shoulders having all those positions filled, and she's only got one role to do. So very excited to have Jamie Heritage back in Infrastructure and Environment. Jamie was with us some years ago and has now returned, and so exciting times ahead. We have some really big projects that have been on the go and will continue to be in the new term as well. Things that will be generational projects for our communities, which is something that's exciting for a councillor group to be part of. That's something that will have a legacy for years to come. And it's never great to have a natural disaster, but it also creates opportunities, and that's what's happened with the fires that we had come through in 2019, 2020. So the amount of work that we've been able to do to apply for and be successful with grants for projects has been exceptional. Our capital works budget, went from about 7 or 8 million to 30 million. So I think it's exciting for the next at least 12, 24 months to get on top of those and get those projects delivered, and we can then all get back to a more normal running of, well, we would like to think is normal, the way the council will run and operate. And I think will reduce the workload on some of our staff who have been going above and beyond with the amount of capital works that we've had in the recent years. So I thank the staff for all their efforts over that time, and that's probably about me. So thanks very much for the opportunity for another year. So this will clock up 4 years, and I think that's something for someone else to have a go at next year. But I'm excited to follow on this year and get us through the first year of this council term as mayor. And with that, where's my mouse gone? Over here. We'll move him on. Item 7 will be the election of deputy mayor. Love the CEO to speak to that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, the Local Government Act states that a council may establish an office of deputy mayor, and the role and powers of the deputy mayor are set out in section 21. The deputy mayor must perform the role of the mayor and may exercise any of the powers of the mayor if the mayor is unable for any reason to attend a council meeting or part of a council meeting, or the mayor is incapable of performing the duties of the office of mayor for any reason, including illness, or the office of mayor is vacant. If the council does not establish an office of deputy mayor, there's also provision within the legislation to appoint an acting mayor as necessary. An acting mayor may be appointed when the mayor is unable for any reason to attend a council meeting or part of a council meeting, or the mayor is incapable of performing the duties for any reason, including illness, or the office of mayor is vacant. And the council must specify the period for which an acting mayor is appointed. Historically, we have appointed a deputy mayor. It's certainly assisted in terms of the functioning of the organisation, and it is my recommendation that you again appoint a deputy mayor. And prior to doing so, you will need to have a resolution that you are establishing the office of deputy mayor, tongue-tied today, and what the term of that office might be. And again, historically, we have aligned the term of the deputy mayor with the term of the mayor position. So the recommendation before you at item 7.2 is that you determine whether you wish to establish the office of deputy mayor and what the term of office might be. Thank you.
Madam CEO, we have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion?
Yes, I'd like to establish, or the council establish, office of deputy mayor for the term of 1 year.
Thank you, Councillor Tolcher. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman, to get used to that one as well. Would you like to speak to that at all, Councillor Tolsha?
I think the term for 1 year gives the opportunity for other people to fulfil that role, and I think it's a way of everybody getting experience in that role.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Pittman? Okay, no. Anyone like to speak against the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. So now we move to the election of Deputy Mayor, and with all that information that our CEO's just gone through, call for nominations for Deputy Mayor. Councillor Wortman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder? That'll be me. Thanks. Councillor Anderson, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Do I have any other nominations for deputy? Okay.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Tolsha for Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder for that nomination? Okay. Councillor Wortman. So we have, do you accept the nomination, Councillor Tolsha?
I do, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So in our governance rules, we allow both people nominated to speak for 5 minutes, and we do so in the order they were. You don't have to speak for 5 minutes. In the order they were nominated. Councillor Anderson, if you'd like to speak to that.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I will not be speaking for 5 minutes. But I would like to say, though, that I have enjoyed the experience of being Deputy Mayor for the past 12 months. I do work part-time, but I don't feel that that's a hindrance. I'm very structured with my time. I believe I've increased in confidence in my personal and professional skills. One of my main things I have focused on is the enhanced communication and collaboration within the group, which is very important going forward and working with staff. Council has a lot happening in the next year, and I believe we will need to increase our advocacy work, which I'd really like to be a part of with the state and federal governments, and I'm committed to working very hard on that. I would like to be actively involved with our local representatives, making sure the Shire is heard very loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Tolsha.
Thank you for the opportunity. My past history, I have been on council before. I never got the opportunity to do either deputy mayor or mayor, even though I was working full-time. I'm now retired. I have more abundance of time to commit to fulfil the role. I think my past term in council, there was a really cohesive group supporting the CEO and all the directors. I think we have that same group going forward with David and Andrew, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Wortman, sorry. I'd like to keep that sort of cohesive group going, and part of that would be stepping up as the Deputy Mayor this term, and then I do have aspirations as a mayoral role down the track. So succession planning to me it would be a great opportunity. I think my past experience also as a director of the water industry and past president of that, I have been the front of an organisation before, speaking to large crowds, conferences and that sort of stuff. So I think I have the experience to do that, and I just welcome the opportunity to do it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So I believe we now go to a vote, and that will be a show of hands. And as Councillor Anderson was nominated first, we'll have a show of hands for Councillor Anderson. Pardon?
All those in favour?
Oh, all those in favour?
Vote for myself.
Yep. And, well, for all, we've one there, so we call on people to have a show of hands for Councillor Tolsher as Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Tolsher has been elected, so congratulations. And I think I did say it earlier, but I think this is a really exciting time because Councillor Anderson and Councillor Tolsher both having aspirations. Previously, we've had to work at getting people to want to put up their hand to take on the leadership roles within council, and I'm going back a few years. So I think it's really exciting for what we've got for the next, the following 3 years of this term, with that amount of commitment and dedication to looking at what leadership looks like within our councillor group. So thank you both very much for putting up your hand and nominating, and we'll move to the next item, which is petitions and joint letters. I believe we have nil. No? Am I in the right?
I was going to item 8.
8. Oh, confirmation of minutes. Maybe we should do that one first. Okay. Item 8, confirmation of minutes from the 23rd of October 2024. We have the recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. I don't think there's anything to speak to there. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9 now, petition and joint letters. Nil. Public question time questions? Nil. So we move to item 11, informal meeting of councillors. So the council meeting records from the 9th of October and the 23rd of October have been presented. Is there any questions or clarification on those meeting of councillor records? No. We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the information be noted.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Again, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? No one's against. Carried. Appointment to committees and boards, and I'll call on our CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, we have several internal and external boards and committees that require councillor representation, and we require a council resolution for the appointment of councillors to those boards and committees. Based on previous conversations, what we have put together is a recommendation in terms of councillor representation, and that is shown in the table on page 21 through to 24. Of course, these are just officer recommendations. If there are any changes to that, I'm more than happy to put that through, but that's put before you for your consideration. Thank you.
Any questions or clarification on that? Councillor Anderson?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I would like us to consider also joining the VLGA to see if we can get some value out of that one as well. It is a state one, but they do have the association across Australia, so I think it could be worth our while in attending that one.
If we were to put that forward, Councillor Anderson, would you be interested in putting your... we need to have
Yes,
a
I would.
nomination for that, so Councillor Anderson would... Rightio. Would someone like to move the motion with that recommendation, with that added VLGA?
I can do that. Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Anderson?
I'd like to move that the representatives to the committees and boards be listed in the table in the report, and with adding the VLGA to that list.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Councillor Pittman? No. Councillor Wortman?
Mr Mayor, can we just clarify what type of membership, what term of membership would we require?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Sorry about that.
Term of membership,
For the VLGA,
so is...
length of...
Yep. Okay.
If we took it out for 12 months, and just to see if we can get some benefit out of it for the council.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I
Thank you.
neglected to say that.
So we've got Councillor Anderson and Councillor Pittman moved with a added VLGA with a 12-month,
Catchy.
that was not going to be long, was it? 12-month membership. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion or against the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? No one's against. Carried. Item 13, council meeting arrangements. So this one we might take as read. It's pretty straightforward. It's actually not going to alter from the last council term. So council meetings will be on the fourth Wednesday of each month, alternating between Tallangatta and Corryong, which is exactly what we did last year. There are two variations to that, but just to dodge public holidays and work around for council staff. Any questions or clarification on the report? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Tolsha.
I'd like to move that the recommendation as presented.
Recommendation is presented. Do we have a seconder? Yep, Councillor Anderson. Would you like to speak to that at all?
No, I just think with the, might turn back in with the Corryong and Tallangatta, it works well for everybody, and go anywhere else, it sort of makes it very difficult for everybody.
Yep.
So the two locations works well.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else like to speak to or against the motion? No, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? No one's against. Carried. 14 is organisational improvement. Action sheet reports. We could probably take action sheet reports as read, but are there any questions or clarification on the action sheet reports required? No. We have the recommendation. Would someone like to move a motion?
Report be noted.
Councillor Tolsha. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Nothing to add to that?
No.
Speak to that, councillors? No. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 14.2, quarterly budget report. And I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the quarterly budget in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act. It highlights that we have a significant surplus over the budgeted surplus due to the timing of the payment of the federal assistance grant being paid in July 2024 instead of June 2024. The report shows that there is still a deficit forecast for the year and highlights that we will need to monitor our spending to ensure that we are financially sustainable into the future. The recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions or clarification on the quarterly budget report? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just looking at our equivalent, full-time equivalent, we still have a number of vacancies, and we all know how tight the labour market is. Do you feel that it's improving? Like we have filled some senior management positions, directors?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it is improving. We still do have particularly a number of manager positions to fill. However, progress is being made in that regard. So, and the quality of recent recruits has been strong, and so and across the board, not just in management positions. So that bodes well for the recruitment rounds that are currently being undertaken.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or clarification? It's only an ear scratch. We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move motion? Councillor Pittman.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to recommend that the report be noted.
Yep, move that the report be noted. And a seconder, Councillor Wortman. Would you like to speak to it at all, Councillor Pittman?
Nothing to say, thank you.
Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, in the report, as the officers view, we know as a small rural council we are very reliant on one-off grants, and I'm afraid that's going to continue into the future. And as we know, state and federal government budgets are under pressure, and it's going to become more and more difficult. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Would anyone else like to speak to or against the motion? No, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. (14.3) Risk and OH&S bi-monthly report. And again, I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the Risk and OH&S bi-monthly report is provided to you. The attachment has been circulated to councillors prior to the meeting due to the confidential nature of the information contained in that attachment. The purpose of the report is to provide councillors with a high-level summary of the incidents and injuries in the business and any work cover claims, any high potential incidents and near misses that have occurred, and the outcome of any investigations from that. The insurance report on any public liability claims that have occurred during the reporting period, our progress on closing out our major hazards, and a high-level summary of the major projects underway and progress on the systems development and implementation. The recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions, clarification on the Risk and OH&S bi-monthly report? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to make a comment on the work cover. And as the report says, work cover is a very difficult industry to navigate, and I'm just pleased that we're improving our internal processes and how we can get employees back to work quickly, and I reckon that's fantastic.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any further questions or clarification? we have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion?
I'd like the report to be noted.
Councillor Tolsha, the report be noted. A seconder, Councillor Anderson. Anything to speak to on that report, Councillor Tolsha?
I think the only thing with the OHS is the truthfulness of it all, and I think if everyone's honest, we can make things happen and improve the whole system and make everyone safe. So, good work.
Councillor Anderson? Anyone else like to speak to the motion or against the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. None against. 14.4, Talgano Recreation Reserve Memorandum of Understanding, and I'll call on our CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, there's a fairly extensive report in front of you in relation to this proposed Memorandum of Understanding. The Talgano Recreation Reserve Tennis Facility project has been a challenging one. Challenging due to weather and ground conditions and having a limited budget. The project construction commenced in July 2022, had unprecedented amount of rain, and also found there were some latent conditions under the existing courts which required the removal of effectively waterlogged soil and to remediate that area before the new courts could be put in place. In doing so, we had to rescope the project, which meant that the concrete edge beam wasn't part of the construction at the time, and all advice received was that it's not an unusual situation, particularly in smaller rural communities where budgets are limited, and that should not cause an issue in terms of the integrity of the courts going forward. In more recent times, officers have had a number of conversations with the tennis club and also the Reserve Committee of Management around some of the issues that they would like to address at the tennis facility. Certainly the installation of the courts and some additional hard surface areas and removal of grass areas, and as well as some challenges with drainage has meant that there's been some damage to the tennis courts when there's been significant rain, to the tennis club when there's been significant rain. And so our recent conversations and negotiations have been in terms of how those issues might be addressed going forward. And as you may be aware, there was $182,000 set aside in the current year budget in order to address any of the remaining or outstanding items. So as a result of those conversations, the tennis club members and the Rec Reserve Committee of Management members have indicated that they would like to see an edge beam put in place to preserve the courts going forward, and they are very capable individuals with many connections to tradies around the area, so they would very much like to manage that project, and we are confident that they will be well placed to do so, and we will get a good outcome. And so a memorandum of understanding has been prepared, a draft memorandum, and that has been provided to both the Tennis Club and the Rec Reserve Committee of Management, and they are in agreement with the terms of that memorandum of understanding. Effectively, in return for $182,000, they will arrange for the installation of the edge beam around the perimeter of the court, and also addressing some drainage issues. And should there be any further any funds remaining from that allocation, they will look to fixing or fixing their existing clubhouse or establishing a new clubhouse if there are sufficient funds to do so. So it is my recommendation that you approve the Memorandum of Understanding and also authorise me to sign that memorandum and transfer those funds to the Rec Reserve Committee of Management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification? Councillor Wortman? I see the light go on your speaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I just compliment the CEO on that review of that project. That summed it up very well. The key thing is it was a limited budget originally, and the scope of works had to be changed, and of course the unforeseen wet weather definitely hampered that project. I have to compliment the CEO again. She organised an on-site meeting there with Idwala, the contractor, and with the committee of management and all the user groups, and I think that meeting was excellent, the way it was conducted, and we came to this result. And I think it's going to, for the life of the courts, it's going to be a good result. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Any further questions or clarification? Someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to the...
Got you turned on. Thanks, Mr Mayor. This project certainly had its struggles with many contributing factors, as Councillor Wortman's just spoken about. The MOU with Council, Talgarno Rec Reserve and the Tennis Club, what a terrific outcome. An initiative that's really getting down and speaking to our residents, and we've had a fantastic outcome. I just would like to thank those user groups as well and the community for their patience and commitment with this, because it's been a long haul. So between us all, we got there. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just fully endorse Councillor Anderson's comments. Thank you.
Would anyone like to speak against the motion or to the motion? No. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? No one's against. Carried. 15, community wellbeing. No community wellbeing reports to present at this meeting. Asset management. We have 16.1 Springdale Road Bridge replacement, and I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
You've got the ejection chair.
The report relates to the replacement of Springdale Bridge Road bridge. Basically, back in 2022, we had a flood that actually impacted the bridge substantially, washed away the bridge edge beam, damaged the deck, closed the bridge to a single lane. We subsequently had additional flooding happen and wet weather, which required an immediate abutment fix back later in November. So the summary of this is that the report relates to the tender process and the procurement of a suitable contractor to replace the bridge. As part of that, Council went out to tender, and to replace the bridge as a whole was assessed at being in the $3 million range. Yes, quite large. So the assessment was made that the bridge had a short lifespan in its current state of about 15 years if we left it as it was. So we've then gone out and sought tenders to ascertain what a bridge deck overlay would achieve for the bridge. So that is what the report recommendation is, to proceed with the bridge deck overlay, which will then increase the life of the bridge back out to future years. As recommended for the report to be proceeded.
Thanks very much. Do we have any questions or clarification on Springdale Road Bridge replacement? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And look, from the communities out that way, I think they'll be very pleased to see this report. Look, we've all spoken about disaster recovery funding arrangements. It is a drawn-out process, and it takes a long time to get the claims through. And and I feel for the communities that have suffered for that amount of time. But we're hoping to improve that process. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Any further questions or clarification?
Just through you, Mr Mayor, just a question. how much life extension will this bridge deck overlay give that piece of infrastructure?
I'll have to come back to you, councillor.
Thank you.
Any other questions or clarification? Nope. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Once again, I'd just like to thank the community for being so patient. As Councillor Wortman said, it's been a very long, arduous wait for them since January 22, so we're nearly coming up to 3 years. But we can see the writing on the wall with a costing of perhaps $3 million for a new bridge. We need to do some more advocacy work, I can see coming up for us. So, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Wortman. Nothing. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Against the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. They will be excited to see a new bridge. No traffic lights. 17, land use planning. There are no land use planning reports to present this meeting. Environmental sustainability. We have our forestry report. Again, I'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The report relates to our movements with the forestry agencies on inspection of harvesting operations, timber harvesting plans and haulage road inspections, basically. So the report is to be noted. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any questions or clarification on the report? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a comment. HVPIC conduct blackberry and feral deer programs, and they should be commended. They've been doing it for a number of years, and it's really appreciated by our neighbouring farmers.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Any further questions or clarification? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion? Councillor Pittman.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Pittman, do you like to speak to that report at all?
Nothing to say, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Councillor Tolsha's same. Anyone else like to speak for or against that motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 19 is Economic and Tourism Development. 19.1 is Mount Elliott Adventure Park Master Plan Adoption, and I believe I have a material conflict, and we might get our deputy to take over.
Throw this deep end.
Yeah, it's first off.
I might need prompting at this stage.
Just introduce the item.
9.1, Mount Elliott Adventure Park Master Plan Adoption,
And Director of Community and Planning.
and Director of Community and Planning to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Purpose of the report is to present the Mount Elliott Adventure Park Master Plan. This is an exciting opportunity for Council to adopt a plan that will set out their aspiration for Mount Elliott to become a bit of a mecca for outdoor activities, including 35-kilometre mountain bike trails, as well as providing facilities to capture and support activities like hang gliding and the like. So the report has been well consulted. I do note and say to Council that there was one submission to the formal request for public exhibition and comment. That submission is contained in the appendix for your consideration. The recommendation considers that submission and the plan is presented for you for adoption. Thank you.
Any questions or clarifications of the report?
Yeah, through you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Just I noticed on Appendix 19.1.2, page 32, mentioned about the potential spread of dieback, particularly in relation to the grey grass tree. Look, largely it seemed to comment about plant hygiene with contractors. I was just curious, is there going to be any ongoing issues with the potential spread of dieback in this area?
It's probably out of my specific expertise, but I can get some information for you about that.
Thank you. I don't see this being a significant issue, but it was just something that we may need to be mindful of going into the future.
Yeah, it'd be something that would be front and centre in terms of the protection of native veg or the management of the forest itself.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. In the master plan we had a cultural heritage management plan and a native vegetation assessment. I'd just like to commend the Office of the Director and all the staff. It's a very in-depth plan, and I don't think I've seen one as in-depth, and it augurs well for when we submit a funding application, I think. Yeah. And the other point I'd like to make too, and it's in the report, that at this stage council hasn't got any budget allocation, but for it to go forward, we know we're going to need state or federal government grant funding. Yeah, just to make it clear to the public that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wortman. Any further comments or? No, so councillors, we have a recommendation before us. Do we have a motion? Councillor Pittman.
Through you, Mr Deputy Mayor, I'd like to move that the Mount Elliott Adventure Park Master Plan as presented be adopted.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor.
That it?
Anyone else if they'd like to speak to the motion?
Sorry, would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Pittman?
Yeah, look, as Councillor Wortman said, I think this is a fantastic opportunity into the future when we get some support locally and hopefully get some community drivers to enable this project. And I think it bodes well for, encouraging future tourism within our region.
Councillor Anderson?
No, thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to it? So, all in favour?
Put the motion now.
Put the motion. All in favour? Carried. Let's bring back our mayor.
Right. You've kept the seat warm anyway, that's good.
19.2.
I think you've made my screen bigger too, so I can read it easier. I did. Yeah. 19.2. Is that what you... There it is, Economic Development Tourism Update. April to September. I'll call on our Director of Community and Planning.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of the report is to provide the progressive report in relation to economic development and tourism. You'll note that the report highlights a range of activities predominantly in the tourism area, but also like to including things like the conduct of the Pub to Pelican Run, which was a major initiative. Obviously the Mount Elliott Master Plan that's just been adopted, some work involving the Midland Mountain Bike Park, the Pine Mountain stop has been completed in that time, and also an important launch of the Undiscovered website. I'd also bring to Council's attention the work in the agriculture space by our partnership with Riverine Plains. During this reporting period, they've conducted a number of interactions with farming industries and networks and provided lots of information and opportunity for farmers and the agricultural industry as well. So present the report to you for noting.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or clarification on the report? No. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Councillor Wortman, would you like to speak to that at all?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd just like to thank the staff. The amount of work that's going on in this area, it's amazing, and yeah, it's great for the community, for our communities that we serve. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Councillor Pittman. Do anyone else like to speak to the motion? Against the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Oh, it's a long way down. 20s, councillor reports. No, I don't believe there's any councillor reports this meeting. Urgent business? No urgent business. Committee minutes. So 22.1 Audit and Risk Committee minutes. Call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the most recent Audit and Risk Committee meeting. The report, the minutes themselves have been circulated separately due to the confidential nature of the information. The resolutions that were made by the committee are included in the report to council and pertain to the standard reports in the Audit and Risk Committee work plan. The recommendation is that the committee meeting minutes and resolution be noted.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on the Audit and Risk Committee minutes? We have the recommendation. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Tolsha? No. Anyone else like to speak for or against? We'll put the recommendation, the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 22.2 OH&S Committee meeting minutes. And again, I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide to the councillors the OH&S Committee meeting minutes. These have been circulated to councillors prior to the meeting and contain the topics discussed and the actions resulting from that committee meeting. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the Occupational Health and Safety Committee meeting be noted.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on the report? We have recommendation before us. Would someone like to move motion?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that the recommendation as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a Councillor Tolsha? Councillor Pittman, anything to?
No, nothing to comment. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Tolsha. In that case, if there's no one else want to speak to the motion, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 23's council policies. Policies for adoption. The following policy was tabled for review at the July 2024 Ordinary Council meeting, public transparency policy. If you're happy to take that one as read, is there any questions or clarification on public transparency policy? Nope. Would someone like to move a motion?
I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Councillor Tolsha, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Pittman. Nothing to add to that, Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Pittman. In that case, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 24's sealing of documents, nil, and 25's confidential. Councillor,
Sorry, Mr Mayor.
no confidential. And before we close the meeting, Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, correct me if I'm wrong, but item 2 on the agenda, did we have a mover and a seconder?
You didn't have councillors.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we had councillors because you've been sworn in. We didn't have a mayor, so we could have a motion if you like.
No,
Yeah.
if
I
that's...
mean, if you want to tidy it up and just say that you note the information provided at item 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we've gone straight into the election of the mayor,
Yeah,
so we could have someone chairing the meeting, so, yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt,
all right.
yeah. that the
Would someone like to move a motion from item 2 that the information be noted?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that item 2, the information be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder? Ooh, that was a Councillor Anderson.
Who was quicker?
Yeah.
Go to the
Photo.
Go to the
Look
Look at the video.
No one want to speak to that motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. And item 26 is closure of meeting. So thank you very much all for your attendance. Thank you very much to the gallery for putting up with us, and great to see a gallery here. And we'll close the meeting.